In Iran, the death toll surging as the Islamic Republic tries to crush the spreading protests. But crowds in the hundreds of thousands are refusing to surrender the streets. Human rights activists say around 500 people have been killed since the protests erupted 2 weeks ago. Iran does not release official numbers, but these videos, smuggled out of the country despite a government-imposed internet blackout and verified by NBC News, show dozens of bodies outside a morgue in Tehran. The faces of the dead flashed on a screen as anxious families search for their missing loved ones. Cries of grief and the seemingly endless rows of bodies hinting at the scale of the bloodshed. President Trump has threatened strikes if Iran uses violence against protesters.
You better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too.
Members of Iran's parliament responding with defiant chants, their speaker warning Iran would hit back, and all U.S. military bases in the region would be legitimate targets. More than 10,000 people have been arrested so far, activists say, as authorities try to hold back a tidal wave of public fury, initially sparked by a spiraling economic crisis, but now turning into calls for the overthrow of the regime that has ruled Iran since 1979 and the toppling of its 86-year-old supreme leader. Iranian officials blaming the U.S. and Israel for the protests, claiming without evidence that foreign agents are inciting the crowds as they try to explain away the explosive anger of their own people.
Welcome to the video, everyone. This is Justin Paul. I'm doing a reaction here to what you just saw. Man, what's going down in Iran? Over 500 people killed. They don't have an accurate number. They just throw a number out there. Man, only God knows what else is going on over there. Amidst protest. They're protesting their government. Man, it just looks bad. Like, it's just people in the streets. They're, I guess they want a different regime from what they're saying. Because, the current regime, it's like their currency has failed. And it's just a shame seeing these body bags just in the street like this. Like, it's just craziness, man. These are family members of people, loved ones of people. But this is what it looks like when you live in a country that isn't run like, say, for instance, the United States. Of course, we have violence over here, but even when we have our protests, it doesn't look anything like this. So this is really an eye opener. Of course, it's not the first time something like this has happened, but when you see stuff now, where we have access to the internet and there's cameras everywhere, and people want to upload and just make sure that you are able to see stuff that's going on, halfway across the world. It really makes you appreciate, the civil liberties that you do have as an American, because as you see, some people who are fighting for those same type of freedoms and liberties, they end up in these black body bags. So we do know that Trump has said that, if their government starts shooting civilians, then we'll end up shooting back. So he issued a real heavy threat. And then, as you also heard, the Iranians were saying that if that does occur, U.S. military bases that's in that area, they become legitimate targets. So and then also blaming Israel and the United States for sending foreign agents in, rallying up the people, and causing all this. That could be true. I can't sit here and say that that's not true, but It seems like, the people, they want a regime change. They want different in their country. They don't want their currency to mean absolutely nothing. They don't want their way of life to go down to nothing. They want to be able to, live, provide, and have a say so in what's going on in their country. Similar to the United States. So it's just crazy, man. The scenes here is just absolutely wild. And then, this is something where, they're having to put the faces of those who are deceased on a screen, to, hopefully, family members will be able to identify them. So, it's some real heavy stuff that's going on there. And I don't know what the end game will be when it comes to this. But these images, man, they're really harrowing, really hard to watch. You know. So yeah, as Trump was saying,
Iran's parliament responding with defiant chants. Their speaker warning Iran would hit back, and all U.S. military bases in the region would be legitimate targets. More than 10,000 people have been arrested so far, activists say, as authorities try to hold back a tidal wave of public fury, initially sparked by a spiraling economic crisis, but now turning into calls for the overthrow of the regime that has ruled Iran since 1979.
you hear that? Since 1979, that's a long time to be under that rule of thumb, and doesn't look like it's leading to anything good if their economy is failing, if it's crashed. So yeah, I've seen some really, really, really crazy stuff. Like if you go on certain social media platforms and actually search for this type of stuff, man, I've seen some really, really crazy stuff. And even in the first video I've done about this whole subject, they were thousand like motorists and stuff with gasoline, and it was like a flamethrower. It's just like the craziest thing I've ever seen. Buildings burnt up. There's like millions of people in the streets.
And the toppling of its 86-year-old supreme leader. Iranian officials blaming the U.S. and Israel for the protests, claiming without evidence
They're spraying them down, like dousing them with water. So much water that it made a rainbow. You can clearly see the rainbow in the video. Um, that's craziness.
that foreign agents are inciting the crowds as they try to explain away the explosive anger of their own people.
You have cars turned over, things burning up, the crowd lit up in smoke. The air quality has to be pretty horrible over there. And they were basically telling like families to not let their kids out, um, like at a certain time because, there's a high chance that they could get killed. So, this situation is very, very serious, what's going on over there. And, I think it's going to lead to Israel and the U.S. Have an intervention over there. We are already, dealing with the Venezuela thing. There's been strikes in Syria, and the president is talking about taking Greenland. So it's a lot going on here at the start of the second year of Trump's presidency. And the Russian-Ukraine war is still going on strong. Um, Gaza is in ruins. And then even here on the home front, you have all the issues with ICE and border patrol. So it's a lot going on, and we'll just have to see how President Trump navigates everything, and we'll definitely keep doing reactions and updates, the more that we, get into the year and see how things play out.
Raf is joining us now with more. And Raf, the Iranian regime is now trying to organize demonstrations of their own?
That's right, Hallie. They're calling for a nationwide pro-government rally tomorrow, condemning both the U.S. and Israel. We'll see how big that staged demonstration is, but every indication is that those massive anti-government protests will continue. Hallie?
Yeah, I don't think these anti-government protests are going to stop. Again, I think the people want to change, and a lot of these people here are giving their lives for this change. But as soon as we get more updates and more news clips comes out that I can review, I'll definitely bring them to you guys here. So if you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Again, this is Justin Paul. Peace.